Hey, and welcome to NCAA Week 14 Rivals Week. I'm John.
I'm Josh.
And we're going to talk about the Week 14 action, what we can expect, and we're going to dive into the conferences. And let's first look at the Pac-12.
Pac-12. Okay, so Oregon has their side of the conference completely in the bag. You said the best other
By
team
far.
is Stanford, and they have like 4 losses.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
They can
Oregon's
even
got
lose,
theirs.
which they probably won't. The
Yeah,
other side, on the other hand.
Yeah, and they're going to be facing Oregon State. Sort of their little in-state rivalry.
Not really been that
not
kind of
much of a
rivalry.
game outside of the fact that Oregon State has caused an upset this season. But that's about it. So let's talk about the other side of the division because that's the important part. Because we have Arizona State, Arizona, and UCLA, and these are all 9-2 teams.
With 2 losses in conference.
2 conference losses, so they're the ones that are leading in that one. And then, of course, the big game is Arizona State, Arizona, facing off.
Okay, so this is how it's going to work. Right now, Arizona State has the lead inside that conference because they beat UCLA.
Yes.
So UCLA has to have Arizona beat Arizona State in this game for them to make it because they beat Arizona.
Okay, tell me this, Josh. In your opinion, which is the better team to challenge Oregon in a
better team to challenge Oregon, I think, is still Arizona State. Even
think so?
after their loss to Oregon State, I still think they're the better team.
I was sort of thinking about Hundley and UCLA, whether they could take on Oregon.
They already got crushed by Oregon.
I know, but yeah.
You don't normally see it.
And the problem is defense
right.
as well. So yeah, so that's a big game for this week, just to see what's going to happen down in the desert, Arizona. What's going to happen? Who's going to win that one? I expect Arizona State to. They're both ranked teams, like 15, 16, both of them, and so they're right in there together. Big game.
UCLA is 9.
Yeah.
So they're in the top 10. Yeah,
they are.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there.
All right, let's talk quickly about the Mountain West because Boise is going to face Utah State.
Utah State's only lost 3 games this season, so they're either 6-3 or 7-3. Boise State's lost 2 games. It's at Boise State.
In Utah State, they've won conference loss,
Boise.
right? Are they just one conference loss as well?
No, Utah State has 2 conference losses, I think.
Okay.
Boise State's in the lead of the conference. Unless they lose a game, they'll make it to the conference championship game.
Okay, let's talk about the one loss, Colorado State, only lost to Boise State, and they're going to be facing Air Force this week. That's a big game.
In a way, Boise does and doesn't want Air Force to win this game.
Yes.
Because if Air Force does win it, then that, besides Marshall, solidifies Boise to get the Big Year Bowl. Is that what they're called now?
Yeah.
But if Colorado State does win, that means Boise State is the only loss on a team that won every single other game. They basically went undefeated besides the Boise State game, which is a pretty impressive.
That is a little bit of a conundrum there as far as who to cheer for in that game. But yeah, it should be an interesting game. Again, the triple option offense of Air Force is going in against Colorado
Air Force
State.
beat Boise State.
Yeah, I think the chances are that Colorado State will pull that one out. Okay, let's move to the Big 12. Baylor's sitting on top of the Big 12 at the moment. They're going to face Texas Tech and Kansas State. Kansas State being their last game, December 6th game. And then you have TCU at Texas. And then they're going to face Iowa State.
Okay.
So you got TCU, Baylor, those top 2 teams, right? Kansas State, of course, is in that picture. But
TCU, Baylor, except TCU basically solidifies their position just because they're going against Iowa State and Texas.
That's right.
They kind of struggled against Kansas, but besides that, they fixed their problems in the past game. They should win both of those games very handily. Baylor has to play Kansas State.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. Baylor, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry to say it. Because there's no conference championship in this game, TCU's already higher ranked. They're already number 5. So unless TCU loses, Baylor will not get into the playoff picture.
What about that TCU and Texas game? Now, throughout this season, I would have thought this is just going to be a blowout. Texas has won their last 3 games straight.
They definitely
and they've played them. They've played them really well.
Figure stuff out, which was necessary. They're Texas. They have 5-star recruits, every single one of their players. So it's important for them to be able to win games. Can they win it? I don't think it's even going to be close.
Yeah. I don't think so either. I agree with you. Let's move on to the Big Ten real quick and just talk briefly about that. We've got Minnesota at Wisconsin.
Okay.
Minnesota coming off that big win this past week against Nebraska, and Wisconsin, not a super strong win, but a win.
No,
and so So we got these two teams facing off. Is Gordon going to be able to, put this one away, or is this going to be a real fight?
It won't be a fight. We saw what Wisconsin did to Nebraska.
Yeah.
And Minnesota barely scraped by Nebraska. So if Wisconsin brings their A game, it should be a pretty big blowout.
I'm not expecting a blowout.
Okay.
Because I think Minnesota is a lot more than we give them credit for.
I mean, they only have 2 losses.
Yeah. I think they're a fairly strong team. I think they'll give Wisconsin a hard time. Do I think they'll win? Not necessarily.
I mean, if Wisconsin wins this, they get to play Ohio State inside the Big Ten.
Yeah, which, wow, that would be really interesting.
It would.
I'd like to see that matchup more than I'd like to see them matched up with Minnesota. So that's where we are with that, and that's where we are with the Big Ten right now. ACC. This one, you got Virginia at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech just off that crazy loss this past week. Virginia fresh off just beating down Miami. And so, to me, that adds up to bad news for Virginia Tech.
I'm going to go with Virginia Tech in this game.
Are you really?
I will, just because they play better when they have to.
Yeah.
And they have to win this game. If they don't win this game, they'll lose their a billion years in a row getting a bowl game. I mean, it's a crazy number.
And this is going to be played in Blacksburg, so there's a lot on the line. They should be excited, but I don't think they'll be able to pull it off, to be honest with you. I think Virginia's going to take this one. I mean, Virginia, it's not often they get that chance to be able to beat Virginia Tech.
Right.
And so here they have it. I don't think they're going to blow it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with Virginia Tech. If they can do it, both of these teams are fighting for a bowl game, so whoever wins it can get into a bowl game.
Yeah. All right. And so outside of that, we're going to have the December 6th ACC championship game, and that's going to be this one's already settled. It's Florida State and Georgia Tech. And so we'll talk about that one in the future.
We were saying both of these teams, Georgia Tech would be a lot better matchup than Duke against Florida State just because they run the triple option.
Yeah.
And you never know what'll happen with the triple option.
That's right. Of course, Georgia Tech's going to have to face Georgia this week, so that's going to make that one a little bit tough.
Does anyone really expect them to beat Georgia?
No.
I don't think
Nobody does. Yeah. Okay, now as far as this week, some of the big, it's really part of the rivals matchups. It's ACC SEC matchups going on here. And so you have Florida at FSU.
Maybe in past years we might be like, maybe Florida can give FSU a hard time.
And Florida's been coming on better here at the end of the season. Do they have enough? Well, to me, it doesn't take that much to upset FSU.
This is going to be my upset of the week.
Yeah.
I think that Florida could beat FSU just because
Florida's
even if they are bad, they are still tons of levels ahead of Boston College and all those weak ACC teams. And there's a ton of them.
And they do have a tough defense. Their offense has struggled.
Yes.
But they've got a tough defense, and that's what Florida State hasn't faced yet.
Jameis.
The thing about Florida State's been struggling against bad defenses.
Right.
So this could be a bad week for Florida State. I think a lot of the country hopes so. Not because of Florida State as much as because of Jameis Winston. Okay, then you have Georgia Tech at Georgia. We've already mentioned that one. Triple option obstacle for Georgia. Don't think it's going to be that much of an obstacle. They've just got a tough D. They showed Auburn that. Auburn's one of those fast-moving teams, and wow, they
essentially what it is the Georgia Tech's running a triple option. But Georgia's just going to run it straight up your gut. They don't even care if you have good linemen. They're still going to run it straight up your gut.
Yeah.
And they're going to get yards every single time. Georgia Tech's not going to be able to keep up with, ironically, because they are all run Georgia's run game.
That's right. Okay, now, let's finish this by talking about the SEC. And here's where some of the bigger rival games, as far as this week is concerned, as far as the whole country is concerned, these are some of the bigger rival games. But before we get to the rival games, let's just talk about, you got Arkansas, the Razorbacks. They're going to go to Columbus, Missouri, and they're going to face Missouri. And this is big. This is big because, a few weeks ago we said, this is a joke game. But with the way Arizona has come, Arkansas has come on strong here at the end of the season, I think that it looks like Missouri might be in trouble.
How many conference losses does Missouri have? 2? They've lost both of their games are conference games, I believe. And how many does Georgia have?
2.
So it's not that big because Georgia beat Missouri.
But why do I think that Missouri only has 1 conference loss?
I I
We can
think
go
we've
back and
been-
check that, but
we'll
for
have
some
to check
reason,
it.
I think
But
they-
if they only have one loss, it's a bigger deal because that puts them ahead. But I think they have two, and I
Yeah.
just realized that means Georgia's in it no matter what because they're going against Georgia Tech, which is an ACC team.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think we all want to see Georgia in the SEC championship game anyway.
We think Georgia would be a better matchup, but Missouri just won't quit. I'll give them that. They just won't quit.
They got Googled by Georgia.
They did. They
was-
did. Yeah.
Not even.
But that's a big
Not
game.
pretty.
That's a big game, and I honestly think Arkansas is going to do it.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
After these past 2 weeks,
They're making a believer out of me. Okay, let's talk about now. Let's talk about the Egg Bowl. You have Ole Miss and Mississippi State. It's going to be at Ole Miss facing each other. Ole Miss just came off a crushing from Arkansas this past week.
No, in the beginning of the season, I might have picked Ole Miss in this game,
Yeah.
but Mississippi State has this all the way. In my
All right,
opinion.
I'm thinking so too. I mean, Dak Prescott had a great week last week after suffering from Alabama against Alabama the week before, and so I think they're going to be able to rally. I think they're going to do the job even in Ole Miss. That's a tough place to do it, but I think they'll be able to do it there. Now, how about the Iron Bowl?
Iron Bowl.
Auburn at Alabama. So Auburn's got to face the home crowd.
I mean,
of
Auburn
Alabama.
was soaring at one point in this season, but
They
since
were.
then, they've really...
They started this season off strong, and they're the ones sort of sputtering here at the end.
I know it's the Iron Bowl, so...
But
you
it's the
can't-
Iron Bowl.
You can't pick Auburn out of this game. That being said...
No, you can't.
That being said, I pick Alabama by more than 28 points.
All right, so I like the sound of that, and hope that is what's going to happen. But again, this is the Iron Bowl,
It
and
is, so you never know
crazy
what'll
things have happened in the Iron Bowl, and this is the game that both of these teams really live for, more so than the national championship. So let's talk about. Let's finish this off. Talk real quickly about the SEC championship in the East, Missouri or Georgia. We're pretty much thinking it's going to be Georgia.
Right, yes.
Yeah, that one's going to be settled. Especially if Arkansas goes in there and wins that one, it's going to be
It might not even be
a done deal.
A possibility.
In the West, Bama or Mississippi State. Bama goes in and loses to Auburn, then and Mississippi State wins that one. Then Mississippi State's in the thing.
That being said, Mississippi State still could lose to Ole Miss, so you don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen
Yeah.
there either. So
Yeah. We will next week.
yes, we will.
All right, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again for the next week's roundup.